Well, hey everybody. I'm getting ready to work on the exhaust system on the Camaro, and this has been a challenge. It's been a couple-year process because what I have is my 85 IROC Z28 Camaro 305 tune port injection, and it is one of the engines they call high output when it gets to be exhaust system time. And if you have the high output system, it doesn't have a round pipe coming out of the catalytic converter. It has one of these. And on the Camaros, they only used this like 84 and 85, if I read it right. And if you have, Corvettes, they used this converter on Corvettes for a few years. They used it on some Monte Carlos high output, because it's got a big area and a big flow area. The challenge is that all the factory style replacement pipes, all the pipes that would fit this flange have been discontinued. You can't go buy an aftermarket pipe to fit this anymore. And everything says, except high output. So I've been looking, it's taken me a long time. I've contacted different places. I found, first of all, I went to an exhaust catalog and I found this flange, but I couldn't find any wholesaler or retailer who sold it. I finally found somebody on eBay. I bought this on eBay for like 25 bucks, hoping that I could, weld something to it. But then, what do you weld to it that's that size? There's nothing out there. And the challenge being that, you got to have somebody make something special. I kind of wanted it to be stainless steel so that I don't ever have to worry about it again. I want this pipe to be done once. I could have probably gone to a local muffler shop and had somebody bend me something, but they still have to be able to form that. Finally, if you go online and look, you can find a lot of places that sell oval pipe reducers or oval transitions. It'll be oval to this shape and then go to round. But they don't go to this shape. They're flat on the sides and they don't quite fit. So, make a long story short, I went to a place called Stainless Headers Manufacturing at stainlessheaders.com, and they had ones that were flat. Many of the places that sell transitions, they're mass produced, or they buy them somewhere and then they just sell them. Stainless Headers makes their own parts, and so I contacted them. They said they could make one for me. I cut a template out of cardboard from this flange and said, could you make me a transition? And they did. So here's the new transition. It's a little bit flat on the sides and they flared it out so that we can weld it to a flange. And my intention was to go ahead and weld it to this mild steel flange. But once they got the math, the template, they said, well, we could make you the flange too. And I said, okay. So here's the flange that they laser cut for me out of a piece of stainless. And so now, this one will go right up to it. And then it's 3 inches round on the back side. Now, the only little bit of a challenge is that coming out of the converter, there's a little bit of an angle on it, and so we may have to trim this to get it to fit up flat. Now, nobody makes an exhaust system for this car, and the best option after doing a lot of searching looks like Magnaflow. And I bought the Magnaflow. You probably, I've got it couple of weeks ago, got an instruction sheet, and I contacted Magnaflow. They said they never have made a system for this catalytic converter. I was looking to see if they might have guidance or math or a spare part. The answer was no. But you know, their system goes from 83 to 92, it says. And it appears to me that all of these systems, you know, they follow the same course. You hang the muffler in the same place, whether it's a 6-cylinder or a V8. So I'm taking a little bit of a risk. But this system comes with, it's the muffler, it's a 3-inch system up front, and I think it's 2.5 in the back. And it comes in segmented pipe so you can put it where you want it. And then at the front, because there are multiple cars, they'll give you a 3-inch pipe, and they give you a 2.5-inch pipe, 2.5-inch being the flare to the converter, and then it goes into 3. I've laid this system side by side underneath the Camaro. I went underneath and I lined it up to see where this pipe would fit to the factory pipe that's already on there. And you know, there are a couple of lines here. Let me get this flange out of the way. There are a couple of lines here where I measured up against and said, okay, this is where the bend starts on the factory pipe. This is where it would contact the flange on the factory pipe. So what I'm expecting is that we're going to cut this one off about right here and add the transition you know, in place of this piece of pipe. Now this may be a little bit of a challenge. My son-in-law's helping me. He's a really good welder. But it's gonna probably be a little bit of an art project to get these to fit just right. But that's where I'm going. Now, this morning I've sort of unboxed it. Not entirely, because I want to keep parts protected until we get working on it. Got the car sitting here, but you know, we'll be working on it in a few days. So far it looks like everything is here. So they give you, I mean, the instructions say that you should have 3 3-inch clamps, and I've measured these out, and they're like 3 1/4 as they sit. There's one that's 2 3/4 that covers this first joint, and then there are a pair of 2 1/2s for the tailpipes, along with a bracket and a nut and a bolt and a washer. So there's like an over the axle pipe in here. There's one that they call a mid. They call that one a mid rear pipe right there. And then there's a shorter one to the front. It's called a mid front pipe. And all of this is in 3-inch. And then you get to the muffler, and again, I'm not going to unwrap it all right now, but it's got a 3-inch, it looks like 3-inch in and 2.5 out to the tailpipes, and then the tailpipes are packed in here very nicely, protected with all this wrap, but you can see the ends sticking up, and my understanding of those from the advertising is they're supposed to be chrome, so we don't want to scratch any of that stuff up. But that's where I'm going. That's my system right now. And as I said, this has been about a 3-year deal, because I've been, you know, trying to find people who could make things for me in my spare time. You know, didn't spend my whole life at this, but it looks like they did a nice job, the Stainless Headers folks, and they were starting to post this stuff on the website, that if any of you wanted to build a system like this, they could make the parts for you. Alright, so today we're going to try to install the Magnaflow exhaust system. We're going to install the Magnaflow exhaust system today. So this is what we have on one of these high output cars. It's the dual flange catalytic converter. You can see it right there. And it comes out as a oval, and then it has to transition into being round. So it comes out oval, comes down just a little bit, makes this turn, comes all the way to the back. Let me see if I can get it better. Then it comes back to the axle, goes up over the top, and over the track bar and brace, and then down here to the muffler. And so this is an original one-piece factory pipe, as best I can tell. And then, this is an aftermarket muffler, and my complaint has been that, the factory pipe comes in and necks down a little bit, and then they necked it down again to go into the muffler. And so the muffler is only about a 2-inch pipe, and that's pretty small for sending this V8 through. So anyway, that's our system. I'm going to start up front, unbolt from the catalytic converter. We're going to try to get this cut and get the pipe out and start working on the new system. Got all the bolts out there, and it's cut loose at the rear.
Yeah, it's just running hard into the bracket on the...
Okay, so that the hanger has to come down? All right. Well, the nice thing on this car was that it wasn't badly rusted, and then like I say, I've had all these parts just a couple of years ago. So.
Yeah, so maybe if you could just pull, or I might just have to take it off a little bit.
Let's see if I can. There we go. All right. You want torque spec on them?
Yeah, I'll need to snug them up with this, and I can grab a torque wrench.
It's like 58 foot-pounds. Well, that beats dropping the whole axle.
Yeah, for sure.
So the instructions say for this system to start at the front and work your way back. Since we're going to have to do cut and fit at the front, we're going to mount the muffler and start working the pipes from the back. Leave them a little loose, but work toward the front, so then we can work on the adapter to the catalyst.
Yeah, maybe if you want to hold that.
Yep, I can do that. I forget what's going on the front or the back.
I think it went this way.
Yeah.
Double check that picture, but I think that's right.
Okay. Get it positioned.
Yep.
One of these. I don't know if there's a direction that they should go in.
Go up some.
I think that.
I got this one. And then the nuts, so everything's in my hand here.
All right.
As far as these, it's probably just preference as far as looks. But I think it looked better forward, but this might be more functional because of clearance here. You know, it's like
Yes.
you don't have anything to worry about in the back. So I almost vote for doing them right there.
I think
And we'll just do them all, or else we can do them all the same. And if not, I can get a bungee cord to go around too.
Oh, that might be a good idea. Yeah. Just kind of.
Get us in the ballpark anyway.
Yes. Yeah, half the game here is getting things lined up.
Well, I'm kind of thinking that we ought to just kind of try to hold it where we think we want it, which this muffler looks a little bit like it's leaning to me.
Okay.
Maybe we, yeah, I think it's got to turn up like that a little bit.
Okay.
And then I can tighten that clamp a little bit, just to snug it,
Okay.
and get it to somewhat, start holding where we like things, and we'll come back to it.
Oh,
Liking that for
Yeah.
now?
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, maybe if you could go up and down with it, I'm gonna push
That's
her.
what I was trying to do.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so it's definitely got to go back a little bit because it's hitting on that brace.
Oh, I see. Yep. You're right. That's better. Maybe even a little more.
Middle, maybe.
Yeah.
There.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, she's pretty much
I mean, you could.
put another.
I mean, if you wanted to support it with the jack, I'd almost say
Oh,
put it
here.
underneath one of the pipes and.
Yeah, let's do that one because it's not.
Yeah. And then I'll kind of hold it where we want it.
So you can almost thinking we do the clamp that direction because otherwise, if it's over here, it's more likely to hit on.
Okay. Well, you know, we're far enough under the car, you know, from the
Yeah.
visual, it's what's, I would say it's what works.
Yeah, I like this.
Get the over the axle pipe stuck in there. Set it up to clamp right there, or it goes to the muffler.
Yeah, there we go.
All right,
I think now it's got
just enough so you can move it a little.
Yep. Just gonna go this way. Put the clamp that direction.
Want me to hold it?
Yeah, we gotta figure out where it's supposed to go here. Cause this might wanna go. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I made it.
I think we gotta go over like that.
Ah, yes. Probably right. Okay.
Does it seem like it wants to rotate there? I think it's pretty good.
It's pretty solid.
Okay.
That was pretty solid. Yep, no, I understand.
And if not, we might have to cut them both.
Or if we need to go further forward, I mean, we've got these fully engaged, we could
Yeah.
probably pull
Yeah.
just a little bit extra forward.
Where your openings were this direction, weren't they?
Yes, yep. When I was measuring stuff for that bracket, flange, I wasn't looking at that bracket. I guess you got enough meat there though. I was worried about interfering with it.
Okay.
Looking pretty good though right now.
Yeah, I think as long as we keep it over, and if we had to take some out of there, like because of the weld, we could take a little bit out of here if we needed to, but I think I'm gonna try to keep it adjusted. How do you feel about the back, all the routing back here, you know, from here back? Just so are we kind of in the ballpark anyway?
I think we are. You're off the track bar. We're kind of in the middle.
Nothing's grossly out.
The only thing is like the prop shaft. It looks like we're a little bit too far into.
Yeah. Okay. So
like it's got to be closer there.
like something like that would almost be better.
Yes.
And again, we want it more like something like that.
Yes.
Okay.
I think so.
Yep, I agree.
Like I said, I don't know how much latitude you have in these lap joints, but they're pretty deep.
Yeah.
You know, whether we can just, I'd say, pick up a half inch or an inch between those.
So what I'm kind of thinking here is I really like the fit up of this transition here to this.
Okay.
So I really like to weld this how it is.
Okay.
And I think you got adequate clearance here and stuff.
Okay.
Other option would be to try to take a little bit maybe off the bottom and this side a little bit to tip it.
Okay.
But the problem with doing that, in my opinion, is we're going the wrong direction with where we need to go in relation to the flow of the pipe going into it.
Okay. Excuse me.
So what I think is we start by cutting just this flare off as close as we can, and then we're going to see where we're at.
Okay.
But I still suspect that we're too far. That like in a sense, I don't think the shortness is really going to be an issue. Like, I think this angle needs to be a little bit tighter.
Yes. Okay.
So kind of what I'm thinking is we might have to go in here and make a couple grooves in this pipe and bend this tight. Either that or we cut that other bend up and use some more of that bend to make it. It needs to kick this direction a little bit more.
Yes. And there's no way in the pipe from the back.
I don't think so, because the more you bring it out, it's just bringing the whole pipe this direction when it really needs to turn more here. If it was...
Well, yeah. Well, what I was wondering was...
Okay, maybe if that goes...
If this went this way, would we get some angle on it?
Yeah, let's try to... That could help, because if we swing this up to the... Yep. Yeah, so, now, while I'm holding this, come take a look here now. So I think that helps substantially.
Yes.
But see how this isn't really natural? Like, it's not a straight shot right here?
Right. Well, and on the original pipe, it was down. This was down like this more. Just how they had that one bent. I guess from a clearance standpoint, we're good to the drive shaft, because the drive shaft's only going to get higher.
Yep.
Right?
I'm almost thinking though is we pop this off and I put a tack on each side of this.
Yep.
And then we cut this flare off.
Okay.
We'll put it back together, and we'll see how our what we got to do to get these two pipes to join up nicely.
Okay. All right.
Because and I do agree that there's going to be, that's where this is going to come into play, right?
Yep.
This adjustment here.
Yep.
And then that rotation that we just did near the axle back there, and if we can make it mesh there.
Yep.
But I suspect there's a little bit of a bend, a little transition here that's not going to be straight yet. We're going to get it.
There was also Tinker, and I kind of went a little bit closer to the. I turned it just a little.
Yeah, and the thing too is that the axle's in full rebound now too. So when it's sitting on the ground, it's
Yes.
gonna go up in there pretty far.
Yeah, when I compared to the original pipe, this, you know, I thought we were going to be cutting off a bunch, but this system's a little shorter.
Well, I think I'm gonna let me try to get. I think I need to, regardless, try to cut this off as straight as I can.
Okay.
And then we'll see where we're at, because then we can judge the mouth of that, because
Okay.
I suspect we're gonna have a pie shape here that somehow we're gonna have to work out of it yet, but this isn't doing us any good here. Try to go towards the axle a little bit just to see. Yeah.
That's touching right
Yep.
now.
You're still touching back there? Or
Quarter inch.
try to rotate it back just a little bit, just to where you're comfortable with. I want to see what it does here.
Okay.
Okay.
Now that gives you about a ½ inch. I'm a little watching how close we are to the U-joints, actually.
And that axle ought to go up in the car. What? How does it look in relation to the wheel wells? I can hold this for a second, but
They
axle,
dropped a long ways.
Yeah.
It's just on the bounce. Yeah, you know,
Couple inches. You're gonna go up.
at least, yeah.
Okay.
It's just when you hit a bump on rebound,
Right.
you want to make sure you got enough clearance.
Sure.
Yeah, it just feels like the front end of the pipe is a little too close, too far in the center. But I know you got an angle to hit, so I mean this clearance just seems.
Yeah.
Now that's looking better back here. I think that's all right.
And I'm thinking the only way that we would be able to really address the concern of this pipe being too far to the center is if we made this bend tighter, and then you could take a little bit off of here, because that would allow you to, in a sense, bring that in, and then you could step this out to match.
Okay.
But that pipe, this bend will have to be tighter. And then, so one of the ways that I would suggest over beveling, just because it's not going to look that nice, I would suggest we cut like right into this bend with just a bandsaw, about 3/4 of the way through, and we'll pull that tight and put a tack, and we'll bring it back over here and check it. And if we don't like it, if we want to go one more, we'll go a ½ inch this direction.
Okay.
And that's going to make this bend wrap, and then I'll weld it. You know, like
Yep. Yeah.
because so in my opinion is doing that is going to help us. It's going to close this gap here.
Yep.
By making that tighter. So then I think.
Then we take a little bit more length out of the joints to bring it forward. Just a little.
And then you might, in turn, once you get this lined up, we might be able to take a ½ or a 1/4 off of here, which is going to make this pipe go. It'll help that theoretically should let it go over that way a little bit, away from your dry shaft.
Yep. I'm with you.
Otherwise, we would have to cut these off and start messing with this chamfer. But the thing that worries me is there's not a whole lot of meat in this transition here. So we say we cut a 1/4 inch off here. Now you're not going to have very good fitment around your flange. That fit real sweet in there.
Yes, it did. It does.
That's my opinion. Is we would just got one cut right in the middle first, and see how we would like that, and then we still got a movement each direction of that cut. If we had to do 1 to 3 welds around here.
Yep. Okay. Getting closer.
Getting closer.
Still maybe needs to go some more.
Yep. It's getting better. Just got to do it a couple more times. I don't love having to do that, but I don't think we really got much of a choice. I don't think we're done.
Not done, but closer.
Yeah. Do one more here on each side, I think.
Okay.
I think this one's going to make the most difference here.
And that's a technique that you're using that I hadn't ever considered. That makes perfect sense to do it that way compared to trying to take 2 pieces and fixture them together.
So a lot of guys will do this even with straight pipe, and they'll take bigger pieces of pie on But for me, I would have no problem doing that, like getting aggressive cutting these out with my big welder. But that I'm not. It's not as easy to fill holes with.
To me, it's a lot, safer way to make a cut. You sneak it up on it.
Yeah. And I do think as we're bending it, I can see that I'm having to pull this out a little bit, which is good because we can make up for a little bit here and a little, right here and here.
Yep. Yeah, I was looking at how long the engagement is. I don't see any reason we can't pull a little bit out.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, it's getting closer. But like you said, we still can take a little bit of length on it. But I'm thinking that I could probably make that work there.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just watching prop shaft clearance, I guess.
And how do you like this position right now of it related to the rear axle?
That's right now. That's very good. In fact, I could go a little tight.
Because that would help if you could go towards it.
I could go towards it a little. I'm still. Let me go this way just a little. How's that?
Do you want to try to take a little bit out of this now, like maybe 1/4 of an inch to bring this direction?
Yeah, I would. Again, just kind of watching the factory pipe. I think it runs a little straighter.
Yep.
And I think now take a look. Let me hold this for a second.
Yep. It might be hot near the weld, but
Okay.
it should be good right in there.
But take a look at the axle and the U-joint clearance. See what you think.
It's close. I think it's acceptable because it's going to go up. You're going to do nothing but gain it at this point.
But with full rebound, looks like I got enough.
Yep.
Right? All right.
And then, to avoid having it hang, I mean, this stuff hangs pretty low in the car, and relative to like the CAD and stuff right now, you might be a little bit low right here to like it can afford to go
up a little bit. Okay.
But which is okay.
If I ever had to get the prop shaft out of the car. I've had it out before. I was just looking at clearance whether
So that's where I think if we took a 1/4 inch off of here and see what it did, because in a sense it would let it go like that.
Yes, yeah, that's kind of where I'm leaning.
Let's creep up on that a little bit, okay? And
okay.
And I'm gonna try to bias this cut. Let me get a marker. If you could hold this for a second.
Sure can.
Then I'll.
All right. Oops. That's what I keep getting in front of your foot there. All right. And we pulled it out a little ways, and we could split the difference. And in fact, I don't know, we might even have a little bit all the way in the back here that we could scoot it forward if we needed a touch more. Over the axle pipe. And I think we're getting pretty darn close.
I think so too. What I kind of would like to do now is will you hold this for just a second?
Yes, I will.
What I'm thinking is I want to grab my Sharpie.
Okay.
And I want to put 2 index marks, because one option is bring the welder over here, but I think if we take this and I just do an index mark where they're in relationship to each other.
Yep.
And I just do 2 tacks and we'll bring it over here as one piece.
Okay.
And just like this. And we'll fit it up if it doesn't fit well. And then here's the other thing too is, once we get it sitting where we want, I want us to think one more time if we want to go any more, because we could cut some more off. But we're just gonna have to keep giving and taking here and here.
Yeah, there's one there, and as I say, I think the one over the axle, there's a little bit of clearance that you might be able to pull that one too. But
so I'm at this point, it's just your honest opinion. If you want to go more, just tell me and I'll.
What's your opinion?
Let's get this fit up one more time and look at it right where it's in its sweet spot, and then we'll make a judgment call.
Okay. All right.
Is that good in the back, like in relation to the axle?
Yes. Yeah, we're good, right? We're good back there. Oh yeah. And you were talking about ground clearance and whether we have good ground clearance.
Oh yeah. Want me to hold this and you can stand back there a minute?
Yeah, why don't we do that?
I got this.
I mean, it's above the axle, which is down.
How's it look in relation to this torque arm?
It's above the torque arm.
Okay, good.
which is going to go up when you put the car down, but
Yeah, especially in the back.
I think we're okay. The only one would be if we wanted to lift it here a little bit, but it's not going to lift any further. I mean,
Yeah.
that's about where it's got to go. Just looking.
I personally don't think we should. Oop, you all right?
Yeah. Yep.
I don't know that we should take any more out of here because I'm worried that we're gonna.
Okay.
Well, let me see what we got for engagement here. Quite a bit. Okay, so that's there. Okay, so come take a look over maybe my right shoulder here. So I pulled this out, and you see the scuff marks?
Yep.
So I'm probably roughly a ½ inch out there.
Yep.
And that got us back to where we wanted to be, the same starting point here.
Okay.
So theoretically, we could probably pull that out somewhere like that, right, without having any trouble.
Mm-hmm.
So if we were to take another quarter here, in an attempt to get this to go to the passenger side of the car a little bit, like it to almost make it more parallel with the drive shaft.
Mm-hmm.
That would be the only other thing that I could see is if we,
What do you think?
because it would be the difference of.
It would give us a little bit more clearance to the drive shaft too.
I think it'd look more natural.
I think I agree with you.
Okay, let's just do it.
Okay.
And I'll do it on the short side of a quarter. And
Okay.
then we'll come back and do our index marks again. Just play with that angle a little bit more to make that fit
All right.
sweet.
All right.
Mark. Almost perfect. See over here, I'm gonna play with this side just a little bit to get that out of there.
To get that to
Close that up. But I've been taking from like here to the top
Mm-hmm.
with my grinder over there.
All right. It gave you maybe that much.
You liking that?
Yeah, I can get my hand in between. So.
Okay.
What do you think?
What I like to, well, maybe while I'm
Did you
holding.
like it before?
I like it. No, I like this. Unless we want to try to keep going that direction with the pipe, I know I'm confident I can make this work right here. But if you want to keep working it, and really what I mean by working it,
Yeah.
would just be trying to get more out of here. But I don't know that we're going to gain a whole lot by that, other than this being more parallel with the drive shaft.
Yeah. I would say is if we have proper clearance to everything. I
Yeah.
mean, stuff moves around a little. And,
Yep.
You know, I don't want it to bump the drive shaft. I don't want it to bump the axle.
Yeah. And like for instance, I got my fingers are easily above here.
And this is all the way down,
Yep.
so it's not. I mean, the transmission's on mounts. It can bounce some. I mean, there's some rubber give, but
Yeah.
But you got an inch in there, right?
Yep.
There's an inch to the drive shaft. There's an inch to the axle. I don't know, Marlon.
I like it.
I think it looks pretty good.
And I think so at this point what I'd like to do is, if you like this, is let's pop this off. I'm gonna take it over there, I'm gonna spot this,
Okay.
and we're gonna put it back on here, and we're gonna sit back and criticize it.
Okay.
And if we like it, I'll pull it off and we'll weld it, and if we don't like it, we'll cut it apart and keep picking at it.
All right. Sounds like a plan.
Because what I got now is I got one index marker and a double here. I should remark these so they're clear when I'm over there, but we're gonna get this fit up real sweet, give it
Okay.
2 tacks, come back, make sure we like everything.
All right. All right. So now we got the system tacked together. It does run below the frame rails a bit here in the back, but I don't know that that's bad. That's just what it is.
Yeah. And it almost, if it was much higher there, it would be, well, your drive shaft's as low as it's going to be now, but
Yes.
we'd be giving that up.
Yeah. So the factory pipe would have this one in closer to the heat shield, I think, and you'd have a little more clearance to the drive shaft, which is probably what they were aiming for. And that's pretty tight right there. So if that's our engagement, and there's the slots.
Yeah, I think you're good on your engagement.
Well, I was going to say is we even could have more if we needed it. I mean, you don't want it to leak, so you don't want them too short.
And that's what I had just checked this, because it seems like it's more like closer to 3/4 or an inch now that we're out, just
Okay.
based on those. That's why I pulled that back and looked, and we're good.
Okay.
Like I can't see the end of the the pipe in that slot right there.
Okay.
But I don't know that you'd want to come back out of that one anymore though.
I mean, this one isn't going to move a whole lot. I mean, the axle will go
Yeah.
up, so we'll gain a little bit, but this is close to the mount, so.
And I tried to just push up on that pretty hard, and I
Yes.
couldn't make it touch. Yeah, so really that's the thing is, like, I think if you're going to do anything different with that angle, you might take a little bit out of here, and I think if you're going to go after that, you're going to have to get aggressive, like take an inch out of there. But I'm worried that we're not going to have enough.
No, yeah, enough pipe. Okay.
Because you're going to, I think to make any type of impact here, you got to take an inch.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Right,
That's
because
that's probably, you're on a 45 just looking at the angle of the pipe.
I personally think it's acceptable where it is. Like, we definitely could do a little bit more, but I think that's where we're going to start to run into length here. Where, I mean, we could add pipe. You got other, if we had to add a piece in, if we had to take some out of here and put some here,
Yep.
that's what it might turn into though. Right? Is you might end up taking an inch out of here, and having to put something in here if you lose.
Yes.
Because I think we're pretty close to running out of.
I think we get away with this here. We got a ½ inch to the heat shield. I think we stay.
That's kind of my gut feeling, but if you want to go more, we can. We're going to probably just we'll definitely have to play with that, and I'm thinking we'd have to add something personally.
Yeah, I think you're right. I'm a little surprised
Yeah.
that there wasn't more distance there, but because this, some of these brackets are consistent with other converters. I'm surprised when they designed the system, I guess, that they didn't give a little more slip, but it's a different converter and a different.
Yeah.
Because this now matches the factory system pretty close, other than this is a little longer.
Mm-hmm.
But if you shorten it, then yeah, you got to come up with more pipe further back.
And then the other thing that we might run into is as we keep taking out of here, I'm almost starting to wonder, are we going to be too tight now? Like these reliefs.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Yeah, because
that angle's going to come in.
you're going to change the angle.
Not a lot, but
enough. But it'll change. And again, we don't have to match the factory pipe. We just have to be. We have to be sufficient. So while Marlon's welding over there, he's got his TIG welder going. Just kind of summarize where we ended up here. The Magnaflow bends to go to the catalytic converter were not sharp enough. They weren't as sharp as what we needed to go to this converter with the flange. I kind of thought they would be, but they're designed for a converter with a ball end on them. So, in a clamped flange. So this one with the 4-bowl flange, we had to make the bend tighter. And his preferred method, which is really a good one I hadn't really thought about, is he made saw cuts in the bend, and so that lets you sneak up on it. So one saw cut and then you tighten it up a little bit. And I think we ended up with 6 saw cuts, but that made the angle correct. And I matched it to the original pipe, and it's about the same angle as the original pipe, so that's good. The adapter fits so nice to the flange, the transition adapter, that we elected to not try to change the height of it. The factory pipe came down a little bit when it came out of the converter. Not sure exactly why, other than it gives a little more clearance to the floor pan. But anyway, where we ended up was we're a little closer to the prop shaft with the front of the pipe than the factory pipe was. The factory pipe was a little more parallel to the length of the car, so we're probably over 3/4 of an inch. But to do any further, we don't have enough pipe. The Magnaflow kit we'd need to get longer in the main pipe. We can scoot the joints a little bit, but we've already scooted them. We'd have to take 1 inch from the converter side of the bend and put it on the, I'll say axle side of the bend. And it doesn't look like we really need to do that. I mean, if we were going to be purist, I'll call it, match the factory installation exactly, that's what it would take. But looking at it, as the car is sitting here, the prop shaft is hanging down, and it's at its low limit. And so if you go up to the front, where the back of the transmission doesn't move a lot, there's a good 3/4 of an inch between the prop shaft and the exhaust pipe that we're putting in. So that's a little tighter than the factory had it, yet on the other hand, we're not quite as tight to the heat shield as the factory had it, which is probably a good thing also. So decision is to go ahead and do this. I think it's going to be fine, because the only time you're going to get this close again is when the axle is dropped. When the axle's when you're on the ground, both ends will be better. And I'm going to go try it. And if worst came to worst, could come back and modify that, cut the pipe and trim it and move it. But I really don't think we're going to need to. It really looks like it's in pretty good shape. So when this gets welded up, we'll get her back together here and we'll get it all fit up.
Turn it back that way.
Okay. All right. Looks good.
Home free now.
Really nice. So we got all the pie cut, all the slices to make the bend. It's all welded up. Using the big weave, Marlon did all the work, but he's got all the welds done. And the pipe looks pretty darn nice. Well, that got us a little bit more too.
Yep. And they're not even close to being tight enough either.
It looks like we've got better clearance in the back now at the U-joint too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right.
There you go. Okay, so there's a 1/4 out.
Yeah, because we were in really good shape.
Yeah, I think it's this one, because this is going to let that whole thing. How's that?
Much better.
Okay, so maybe hold that there.
I mean,
Just so we don't go
right now, I'd
backwards.
say we've got a good 3/4 of an inch to the prop shaft right there.
I like that. So maybe just pull, just keep your hand on there for a minute, just so we don't.
Yep, I will. Yeah, let's see what's inside there.
Oh yeah.
Oh, those look nice.
I'll go ahead and snug this one a little bit, and then we'll do that.
Alright, so everything's in place. We're tightening up all the fasteners. Put the bracket up there to the top, over the axle. So down the middle. So on this adaptation, the pipe runs a little bit more toward the center than the other one, but I say the other choice I said sooner, we could cut some out of here and add material to this pipe and make it longer. But I think we're okay, because this is as high as it's going to get. And we got 3/4 of an inch to the prop shaft, and when we put it on the ground, it'll be better than that. Well, that didn't work quite as well as we thought. I took the car out, drove it home overnight, and in the morning, I could hear it was buzzing and rattling up against the heat shield behind the catalytic converter, and it actually became uptight against the shield. The system moved around, and so we're back for another run with the goal to get some more room at the heat shield. I'm surprised how much lifting you're getting on that.
All that stuff's moving up there?
Yeah. Just go ahead and just lift it a little bit.
You know, and I almost need you to, I know it's gonna be hot, but we gotta pull down and I'm pushing this cat up every time.
Okay. Yeah, I was just surprised how much it was moving, but I mean, it's gotten a long ways back to the engine. So.
But maybe just try to hold that like down while I'm trying to push
Yep,
it.
I can do that. It's fine.
You know what we gotta do is let me get those pliers like we did.
All right. Do we want, before we type, do we want to look at how much engagement we got first, or do you want to?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I just saw it there.
Yeah, right there's the.
So right there, so I don't think we want to go much further than we got right there.
I agree.
But I think this tells us I think we're adequate though.
Okay.
In my opinion.
Yeah, we got about a.
Yeah, you're probably a quarter to a half back.
Well, maybe even a little more.
Yep.
Probably 3/4.
Yep.
All right.
And that's where you worked this morning when you pulled in.
Yep. No, I get it.
So if we get a half, say a half to 3/4 there and a half to 3/4 there, I think
okay.
we're good. All right, let's get all this how we like it, and then hopefully we're just gonna take it out and weld it and put it back in.
Kind of like a jigsaw puzzle in some ways.
Yeah.
But we've made a lot of progress and got some down angle on it now. I think.
I like it. I don't think that front is any lower than the back at all.
I don't think so either. I think you're right. And if anything, from a, below, I'm just looking like at the frame rail to the, a half inch or something below the frame rail, the subframe. Probably not below the subframe in the front.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, you're not much lower than your transpan if you are at all.
Yes, you're right. I'm looking at that right now. Well, it feels pretty nice and solid.
I think so.
And
yeah, we should.
And now you can get a hand into between there and the.
Yep.
What you think?
I like it. I wish we would have did it yesterday. Now looking at it, we're good.
Yep. And we're almost parallel to the drive shaft now. Just a little bit sticking out, but
yeah, straighten it out.
We straightened it out a lot. And we've still got enough engagement that we don't need to make it longer.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So this is the piece we took out. We did a couple of saw cuts first, but then we really needed to take out a little bit of length. So we're, 3/4 of an inch plus with a little taper on it. So we got kept the angle in it. Cutting that out and forming the metal and then welding her back up got us an angle. So we're now pointing downhill, and and that better lines up with all the way the pipes want to run on the rest of the car. All right, well, we went through and they took about 3/4 of an inch out of here, turned it down just a little because I was running right up against that heat shield. And overnight, when I drove it, the system rearranged itself to be even tighter, and it was almost right up against the prop shaft with it elevated. But now we've got, 1.5 or 2 inches. We've got good clearance. The pipes more aligned themselves. The whole system seems like it's in a better place. I'm going to say less force, less stress on the joints. We did not lengthen this, but we measured, and we have about 3/4 of an inch or an inch of engagement. Beyond where the little slots are. So it's back to here on both of these. So we think that's good, and we didn't have to turn it down a lot to make a big difference. Much better. And from a ground clearance standpoint, we're kind of watching on the other side. The whole system it's slightly lower than the catalytic converter, but and the oil pans, but like less than an inch. It looks really like it's tucked up in there really well. So I think we're good.
to me. I think it's, I'm happy, I like it.
That's great.